Alrighty, Venus and Virgo, we're getting warmed up. Boost the lighting. There we go. Okay, let's get all this sorted out. There's text mods. Mods. Text mods. Send the link. Me live. Venus and Virgo. Alrighty. 1 second. Oh shit. Hello, Cindy. Yo. Beans, are you here? Are you getting warmed up? Let me, yeah. Seems to be. Oh yeah, let me write down the timestamps. Writing down the timestamps. We got a lot to talk about with Venus and Virgo. I got some theories. Some interesting theories. And also congratulations on your school. I don't know if you have whatchamacallits. I don't know if you have like tiers within it, but I would definitely recommend tiers within it. So then people can either get some more things, or you know, you can have a membership or along with course sales within. There's really a lot you can customize. They really have expanded the levels of school these days, so I definitely try it out. And Venus and Virgo is a phenomenal time to do it. Faux show. Hey, let me just figure out what we talking about today, because there's a lot going on. For sure. Okay. That's interesting. Dang. Yeah, let me write this down real quick. But yeah, you can customize it in a lot of different ways. You can have like custom courses for purchase. I see you have a one-time fee for it, but you know, it's like you pay. It's like that's why I have mine set up on recurring, so I don't have to keep getting new members or like doing new things. But if you want to do it that way to make it affordable for people, I would highly recommend. I would highly recommend like coming out with a new course or something that you can have like recurring or reoccurring revenue. Yeah. Nah, I mean it's fair. It's one of the good things you could do, because then like when people look at it in the future, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, you have a lot of members," you know? Yeah. So that's what's going on. And then we have all signs reading. Everybody drop the house you have Virgo in. Oh man, I have like so many apps I gotta market soon. It's gonna be crazy. A lot of new astrology apps are coming out. It's kind of exciting. Libra, Scorpio. I had a nice morning. Capricorn. I gotta take a nap too. And I gotta make my TikTok. Oh, and I got a pull-up bar. I gotta hang up. Yep. All right, Beans. Let me plug the whatchamacallit. Let me plug the chat. Hey, Stretch, what's going on? We got our group call coming up on Monday, so hop back in the group if you're ready. There's the pinned comment. Yeah. Hello. Because I have a lot of things to do, Beans. I'm getting to it. It's on the list. Right now, I got something that's working, and it is currently low priority. Yo, what's going on? Let me plug my thingamabobber. Oh, sweet. Nice Stretch. I'm going to do it early in the morning because I have people visiting me. So I'm going to be a bit busy, you know, but it'll be recorded in the app, so that'll be nice. Yeah. Like I was saying, Beans, I have like 3 different apps on the list I have to market. So it's like y'all are gonna be overloaded with astrological tools. It's gonna be crazy. Yeah, it's not gonna be at 3:30. I like didn't realize people are coming to visit me at that time, so I was like, oh shit. It's not gonna be like crazy early, at least for the East Coasters. So yeah, let me just plug this. Let me plug that. Yeah, everybody drop the house you have Virgo in. Hello. Always people from India. Interesting. Copy, clean link. Plug that. V. There we go. Okay, now I should be ready. But yeah, okay, so let me write this down. Sorry, I got doing like 3 things at once. But yeah, so Venus and Virgo, as we know, it is the detriment of Venus. So Venus hates Virgo with a dying passion. In essence, Virgo is the energy of like immaculate conception, typically. So it's all about putting you through the things so that you feel as though it's all about putting you through the trials and tribulations so that you can fully create something from purely within yourself and not necessarily like needing any external support whatsoever, right? So that's why Virgo is the way it is. Typically, Virgos have a lot of issues with offering their services to people that didn't request it or appreciate it. So with that being said, it is not exactly something that is, you know, good, right? So it's like when it's in Venus, at least in its lower vibrational state, it isn't exactly how do you say? It isn't exactly useful or beneficial to the energy of Venus whatsoever, right? So when we talk about it and we look about Venus and Virgo in this way, you have to know that a lot of people will be diving into people-pleasing natures. A lot of people will be diving into acts of service that aren't necessarily reciprocated. And a lot of people will be put in a position to just feel as though they love and appreciate and cultivate relationships in spaces that aren't beneficial to them. So with that being said, it is not exactly the best alignment. There's going to be a lot of learning experiences that go along with it. However, it isn't the worst thing in the world, right? So some people may be choosing refinement over romance. Some people may be, you know, editing and repairing and dabbling in the energy of repeatable care for things that they have possibly neglected or whatever. And then they're also dealing with functional aesthetics, beauty that lasts because it's maintainable, and really just coming up with different understandings of relationships and understanding clear roles and learning how to have clean boundaries with an essence of practical gratitude, right? So it's just like setting boundaries, learning how to reciprocate, learning how to put people in a position, right? On the negative end, Venus in Virgo is horribly annoying. It's just people that are paranoid, nitpicky, afraid, and don't really understand the power of what they're wielding, right? So essentially what that means is it's not exactly as powerful as people would like, because it's essentially like it's not about pleasure, right? It's about finding little pleasures and things that you can sustain and maintain. So with that being said, it's like it's cool, but it's not necessarily, I don't know, it's not necessarily like as, I guess you could say, enjoyable as you would like, you know? So oh man. What do you mean by you already blocked him? You were in a toxic relationship and you were just like, this ain't working? Oh, sounds about right. This is an astrology channel. If you're curious about the topic, check the description. But yeah. But yeah, so Venus in Virgo, like I said, it's in its detriment. You can use it for a lot of different things in terms of just setting boundaries, having clear, attainable goals, and recognizing that things aren't always about, oh, cool, Cheryl. That's what's up. There you go. Yeah, but like, you know, Virgo in its essence is just like, people may be more paranoid, people may be either people pleasing or having boundaries that they don't understand, blah, 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 blah. But it's like the two kind of like split paradigm and variations of boundaries and misunderstanding in regards to that. So it's cool. You can make it work. You can make any alignment work, but it's not necessarily, as like, how would you say? It's not necessarily as powerful and as abundant as people would like as a traditional Venus transit, right? So a traditional Venus transit like Venus in Taurus or Venus in Libra is much more sustainable. It's much more peaceful, right? So we're getting into a space where Venus will be in a likable sign after this. However, you have to go through the work and inner work to essentially, all signs reading will be after I get through the basic reading. But, oh, thank you. But yeah, so Venus, it's like right now it's taking a little break, it's taking a nap. I'd rather it would be asleep than dealing with the Virgo energy. But we're moving towards a more abundant energy, and we just have to do the internal work of establishing boundaries, finding better health and beauty routines, and creating, you know, an essence of just more like routine boundaries and respect for yourself and what you enjoy, right? And finding ways to sustain and build towards it, because that's inevitably what it wants, right? And this is where it comes from. This is where it comes from. I forget where Venus stemmed from, because I know the moon is like a daughter of Saturn, but I'm not sure where Venus exactly came from. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, essentially relationships during Venus and Virgo, they prefer clear roles, clean boundaries, and practical gratitude, right? So with that being said, it's good for just the most basic relationship type shit of where it's just like, you should do this, you should do that, you should experience it this way. But in terms of like genericness, it's you know. So in essence, it's just like, if you feel, what's the word? If you feel how do I say this? It's like, if you feel unpleasant or uneasy in some way of like just how you relate to somebody, that's usually a sign of like the boundaries aren't clear, or what you're doing isn't clear, right? And if you're not doing anything about it, you'll likely feel paranoid or uneasy or unsettled or just like, yeah, you know, like you're just gonna feel some type of way of where it's just like, I need to do this and it's better to just do it now rather than handling it later, you know? So along with that, the positive side of Venus and Virgo is you are learning how to purely create the relationship with yourself that you want to have with a future partner or spouse, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, of where it's just like extreme nerves or wildly aggressive, crazy, like self-love and just like figuring out how to do it on your own and figuring out the relationship that you truly want, right? So that's kind of like what it is. Now, one thing that is interesting is we will be having Venus essentially transit. Venus will essentially be transiting the fixed star that aligned with the dang, which star was it? I'm trying to think. Oh, it was the past new moon in Virgo where it angled Dana Bola. That's what it was. Yeah. So then Venus is going to transit the most recent new moon. Oh, I had the weirdest jaw crack. That's crazy. Venus will transit the most recent new moon, which will likely lead to some sort of opportunity around the seed you planted on that new moon. So that's interesting because that's the last new moon before we had the eclipses, which are kind of on cuspy signs, which is going to lead to like delayed and like staggered seeds, right? So Venus and Virgo is going to have a weird opportunity on that day. Let me write down where we're at, and maybe I can figure out the date of when that actually happens, because that'll be interesting. Let me look that up. Because we're having a lot of weird energies with the fixed stars, and if you guys want, I just wrote a free guide to the fixed stars and how I actually integrate and work with them. So if you want to, check that out, Beans is gonna drop a link, and you can go get that. Yeah, let me look it up because it's gonna be on a specific day. Because it's in 15 degrees and the moon, not the moon. Whatchamacallit, Mercury just entered Libra today, so it's more about like talking about relationship status, and that was the live I did yesterday if you want to go check that out. And then Venus being in Virgo is going to essentially occur on tomorrow. And then the star that I'm talking about, which is Dana Bola, which is in 15 degrees of Virgo. Oh, no, it wasn't the new moon. It was the Mercury Cazimi. That's right. So the element of clarity around the Mercury Cazimi is going to be showing up in some type of like relationship or something you enjoy, and it's going to offer you a very clear opportunity of like, this is the clarity that you're working towards. Now we have a relationship that aligns with it. That's it. Let me see when Venus is in 15 degrees. So that's going to be kind of a guesstimate. Okay. Okay, so that means in 15 degrees, it should be, honestly, it should be there around the end of the month. Yeah, so around like October 1st, you should be seeing a very specific Venus transit on that day. Yeah, so October 1st will likely be a very good time to have clarity around just like whatever it'll basically give the opportunity that you would expect the clarity to yield, if that makes any sense, right? So say you have 15 degrees of Virgo in your fourth house, right? Um Whatchamacallit? What's better than 68? 69. Um so with that being said, like the opportunity, like, right, so for example, we'll say you have Virgo in the fifth house, right? So you're having a lot of lack of clarity and you do a lot of work for your creative endeavors, and work is kind of like anybody with a Virgo in the fifth house usually is a workaholic in some way, shape, or form. So when it comes to oh, that's a specific time. Hey, I guessed right. Thank you. So yeah, in the afternoon on October 1st, there will be a lucky opportunity for whatever it is you're working towards. So essentially, if you have that alignment in the fifth house, what will likely happen is you will either find a friend or you will find some type of relationship with whatever it is you're working towards. Like whatever it is you're working towards, to actually get you excited about it and keep you moving forward, because you're gonna get like a little feedback loop for like, hey, you did good, you know? So that'll be cool. It's not really anything wildly specific, but nice beans. Is it the day it enters 15 degrees or the exact time that it angles Dana Bola? Yeah, so it's probably more like it's probably more in the evening. Okay. Now let's talk about how we work with this transit. I do not. Okay. So how we're going to work with this is we're going to choose a one day, like choose one devotion, which is essentially a daily act of love, a self-love or others. It doesn't have to be much longer than 10 minutes, but literally just like high-fiving yourself in the mirror and tracking it and like having like a little journal. That is a pretty good opportunity for Venus and Virgo, right? So the other thing you can do is you can do what we also had for Mercury and Libra, which is essentially adding a bit of beauty to whatever like goal, scope, or deadline you have. So when you're doing that like little like skill or like guide tracking, you're like writing things down, keeping track of it, and essentially just creating an opportunity for you to be like, yeah, let's add a smiley face on that. Yeah, let's add a flower to that. Or yeah, let's have a light bulb. If we have a light bulb moment, we wrote it down, right? Just little shit to keep you going, right? Because this comes back to that energy of you have to create the love for yourself. You have to create the energy for yourself. You have to create that excitement for yourself. So that's pretty much where it's coming from with that. Now, when it comes to some of the other things where it's like tidying up, you want to tidy the ties, right? So this is clarifying terms about around money, time, and chores, and figure out why you're doing this, what you're offering, what you expect in return, and doing that just general alignment I was talking about when it comes to just offering that up to the world, right? Now, the other thing you want to do during Venus and Virgo is you want to finish whatever your project and get like the MVP done, right? For people that don't know what an MVP is, an MVP is a minimum viable product. So it's essentially just saying put it out and we'll figure it out later, right? Because it wants to get you around the energy of being obsessed with perfection, you know? So when it comes to being obsessed with perfection, Virgo has a lot of things of where they won't necessarily put out what they want. They won't put out what they need. They won't put anything out due to the energy of perfection. So when it comes to that, what you want to do is just whatever you got, if it works, put it out. If it fits, it ships. You feel me? So that's a lot of what's going on in that realm. No, I got... Don't do that. I like this tea. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with that. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of how to work with that transit, does anybody have any specific questions? Because if that is the case, we are going to get into some of the theories. Oh, yeah, get into some of the theories. Oh, coughing. Everybody good? All right. Well, let's get into the collective thingamabobber. Ooh. Okay, so one of the big things for the collective alignment that we're dealing with on this Venus transit is essentially it's the square that will not likely be as intense tomorrow, but the day after, when Venus actually angles 1 degree of Virgo. Right now we're in 2905. Essentially the essence of that square is a lot of critical relationships surrounding, like a lot of critical relationships around the way you communicate, as well as education will be pretty prominent in that energy. So it's interesting because also right now we have a very interesting kite that's created with the sun. Yeah, there's a lot going on where we have it's a whole thing. That could be a whole other live with that kite. But anyways, the square that we're dealing with right now is Venus and Virgo squaring Uranus in Gemini retrograde, right? So it's a lot of relationships are going to be built over analyzing the concepts of communication as well as education, right? And there's also another alignment where whatchamacallit, there's another alignment where how do I say this? There's another alignment coming up where it's like very definitive. It's like the same alignment of when the internet was created. So that'll be interesting. It was the last time like whatchamacallit, Saturn and Neptune were together in some way, which is a wild thing. But that's a whole other thing. But anyways, what's going on with fuck, what was I saying? What's going on with that square is there's going to be a lot of like critical relationships around education as well as how people communicate. So how that could also look is like, you know, we just recently had a ritual in the news that is completely predicated on making people subconsciously feel like they can't communicate with free speech, right? And it was also based around the concept of education. So there's going to be a lot of education reform. And I've been saying this for a long time with a lot of the trines between Gemini as well as Pluto, and how education will likely be reformed to some type of like hyper skill specific focus and put mulling away from like a general education on like 4-year degree, right? Because the ironic thing is, it's like the people doing like a lot of like the liberal arts section of their degree and having like their general education section where they don't really do any like course specific things for 2 years because they need baseline education for XYZ reason, as if, you know, high school wasn't enough. You know, I mean, that's a different story if you're doing something in the STEM related fields, because it's like, you know, you need you can't really get into the basics if you don't know Calc 1. But that's besides the point. But the whole thing is, it's just like there's just this shift that is going to begin with the essence of people cultivating relationships and forming other like means of communication around criticizing how they exactly educate themselves, right? So what's interesting about that is people don't necessarily understand the depth of what that means, and how much like people are literally going to be changing what most humans, at least in the modern world, have spent the last like 150 years spending a damn near a quarter of their life on, you know? So it's kind of, I mean, that wouldn't be the case because, you know, everybody has their grandpa that like dropped out in the eighth grade because they needed to work to like help the family. But besides that, it's like there's going to be this huge shift that people are going to start like criticizing and communicating around, of where it's just like, what is education? Do we want people to go to school anymore? And a lot of people are going to start that, unfortunately, around of like, I don't want kids to go to physical school anymore because of school shootings, you know, and like shit like that. So when it comes to that, like that's like an unfortunate catalyst, but it's like probably will be it, you know? So it's an interesting thing, like world that we're kind of like moving through regarding this square, because it's like the square itself isn't really doing much outside of just saying, hey man, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? um so yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's not really like too much specifics to that outside of what I just said, other than like people are going to be a bit more, I guess you could say, like critical to the current way means of communication and education system, right? And then there's also this kite, and then there's also the, you know, in February, the triple Moon, Saturn, Neptune, Aries conjunction, which will likely be a definitive moment for the AI revolution or some bullshit like that in early February. But that's besides the point. We'll get to that on another time. I got a lot of time before I have to talk specifically about that. You feels me? So yeah, that's pretty much that. Now, I guess we can move on to the all signs reading. So if everybody has already dropped their sign, you can drop it again just to let me know what's going on, and we will get into that. And then also, I will drop the link in the. I'll be Ooh, interesting. Sorry, I got sidetracked by different live things you can do. Oh wow, I got stuck. I didn't even see all these comments. No, I did not hear about what happened to the old senator man. Hey, welcome from Chicago. Yeah. Nothing in it, Beans. Nothing in it. Alrighty. If you guys if you guys want a free guide to understanding the fixed stars and how astrology actually correlates to the stars, because the most of what you use doesn't, click that link right there and get your little free guide. Now onto the all signs reading. Okay, I did do everything on my list. Okay, starting out with Aries. Okay. So Aries is dealing with the essence of crafting before clout. They have whatchamacallit, Virgo in the, what house is that? That would be the 6th house. So essentially what they're doing is like Aries just went through this whole thing about loving the energy and what they receive from people that like their pioneering perspectives. And they're also understanding that, like, you know, daily art dates beat sporadic spectacle, you know? So instead of doing stuff for the gram and doing stuff for energy and attention and appreciation and all that crap, and people just following them off the strength of like Aries doing what people like, they are going to be much more fulfilled, much more appreciated, much more like loving of themselves if they sit back and understand the essence of, hey man, let's chill out, let's enjoy ourselves, let's appreciate our center, let's appreciate us, and naturally people will follow after the fact, you know? So with that being said, that's where Aries is at. They gotta just stop doing stuff for energy and attention and trying to be a Leo, and they need to do things for themselves. Now, Taurus, who has this in the 5th house, is essentially going to, you know, understand that like pleasure needs practice, and they have to learn how to budget joy, schedule it, and make time for just like enjoyableness. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that essence of Taurus, essentially what's going on with that is I don't know, Taurus was just like doing nothing for a while. And now they have to learn how to do things. And I don't know, it's like after you start doing nothing for a while, it's like everything is like a chore. And if you don't necessarily schedule peace, it can be deeply annoying, right? But when this comes from the 5th house, they, like, I would venture to say that they don't exactly have the best eating schedule, and they would also need to put their, you know, diet back on a routine basis in some way, shape, or form, right? So it's cool in that way, but it's just like you gotta, you know, move up and move on instead of just like being a fart, you know? You don't want to be a fart in the wind. You gotta keep moving on. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much Taurus. Just stop being lazy and like remember that like you can have a routine and regular like dopamine response if you just actually like put in the work and do it. You know, you don't have to be unregulated and just smoking stuff on the corner. You feel me? You funny beans. Yeah, exactly. Make a place you would love to be at. Now, well, beans, you're not a Taurus. Now, Gemini. Ugh. Gemini is Gemini is dealing with Virgo in the 4th house. So they're understanding that home is a system, right? And they have the ability to edit routines. This is I'm trying to figure out what alignment was similar to this. I think it was the Kazemi Alive, where they had a similar energy of where Gemini was. Understanding that they can like change things, they can change experiences, they can help actually like whatchamacallit. So you want my attention, you have a huge problem and you want a free reading. No. So essentially, what's going on with that is, like, Gemini is dealing with the energies of just being like, hey, like, I can change the dynamics and the thoughts within my home as much as I want, as much as I damn well please, you know? So when it comes to that, it's kind of a interesting perspective shift that's like slapping them back. And for Gemini, I sort of see this as being that, like, October 1st Virgo assistance type of dealy, you know? So, yeah. Dude, I'm happy to help, but, like, you gotta add more specifics here, you know? Like, you gotta look up your chart. You gotta look up your signs. You gotta, like, do some legwork here. Come on, man. I'm not just gonna, like, help you articulate the problem that you're asking for help for. That's fucking stupid. Yeah. So, yeah. So, Gemini's just in this space of where it's, like, they're editing routines, they're labeling the love, and they're figuring out, like, what mental models in the home work best for them, right? And, like, I would say they would be nice. I would say they would be like, oh, you know, but it's just like, you know, Gemini's just gonna do it for them. You know how it is. Then they're not thinking about it like they're doing it for them. They're just like, this is what I like. This is where my mind is at. I'm not really doing it from any, like, emotional standing. I'm just doing it, you know? Because Gemini don't think like that. Now, when it comes to Cancer, Cancer is dealing with the essence of sacred speech, right? Because they have Virgo in their 3rd house. There you go. Now, when it comes to Cancer, Cancer is dealing with the essence of sacred speech. Once again, it's the 3rd house. Essentially, what they're dealing with is they're thanking people specifically for specific things, right? And why I say this and have this in my notes is because it's okay. Well, was that so hard? There you go. Yeah, I mean, restaurants are hard businesses. Like, I assume the problem is, like, not enough people coming in, and it's also, honestly, a lot of Virgos have been having a rough Virgo season, which is interesting. I wonder what it is. You got to get more specific than that, dude. But yeah, so Cancers are dealing with the specificity of learning how to get particular with what it is they're working on, right? So essentially what that is like, when I say thank people specifically for specific things, it's learning the power of intention. And essentially what it is it's learning the power of intention for emotional connection. And what that means is you will have the power as a Cancer to create emotions, create vibes, create energies for specific random little, like, any really experience you're going into, right? So essentially what that is a bit of an odd opportunity for you to really understand how to use that with your tongue, right? So you can create a system with your mind, express that, and basically plant certain emotional seeds within people, right? And in this case, it's showing you how to show your appreciation, which is an extremely undervalued skill that people don't necessarily know how to do. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that sums up the most Virgo-ness, which is helping people that didn't ask, and then learning the harsh truth of when you're a slave to people that didn't ask, no one will reciprocate, and now look at you. You helped for no reason, and you're fucked. The answer is don't do that. It's real simple. And you will probably solve a lot of your problems very quickly, you know? As quickly as you get in is as quickly as you can get out. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Cancer. Let's move on to Leo. Leo's got a fun one. Okay. Leo is dealing with the, they're learning how to price their promises. They're dealing with it in the second house, so they're like valuing their time, they're scheduling all the assets of resources that they have, and they are going to essentially align their spending with their values, right? So this is like Leo's kind of in a good position right now because Leo is up. Leo's up financially. Leo's up energetically. Leo's got a lot going on, and essentially what it is an opportunity for Leo to learn how to reallocate and rehypothecate those resources, right? So if you're spending your energy and your attention and you're putting it in other spaces, yo, nice. Well, that's because your moon's there. So essentially what it is you're just like, you're spreading the love in a very particular way. You're getting the things you like. You're getting the things you enjoy. You're getting the things that you want to work on and experience, right? So essentially what it is it's an opportunity for you to spread the love in ways that you just really want it to come back to you, you know? So if you found something that helps you, maybe you're creating something that is going to help other people, and essentially how that helps other people helps you. You feel me? Sums it up. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Leo's not really doing anything. They're kind of just like basking in their throne right now, stunting on everybody. Being like, well, you didn't help me when I was down, so I'm not helping you. Now let's move on to Virgo. So Virgo, they're dealing with this in their first house, and essentially, yeah, Virgos. Well, he has a Virgo moon, so it's a good time for him to just get that bag money. That's funny. But yeah, Virgo is dealing with the essence of they are the method. So essentially, when they strip themselves down from being people pleasing and assisting other people, they are in a space of where they can realize that they can help themselves and be okay with themselves very easily. So with that being said, like Virgo is just like, simplify your look and rituals and understand that consistency is charisma, right? Like you're the person that does it, you're the person that can do it, you're the person that can essentially like, I don't know, you're the person that can like you're the person that just like, you can fucking do it. Like just stop trying to help people so many ways. Like it's so just stupid. You would not have any problems if you didn't try to help so many people that didn't even ask for it to begin with. Like that's literally it. Oh my god, it pisses me off. But essentially what's going on with that is they like just don't understand how to maintain their own energy. They don't understand how to like not be tired. They don't understand how to not just like, bro, you just like, you don't have to do this shit. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. But yet you're doing it. And it's just like, why? You know, like I just don't get it. I really don't get it. But yeah, so just like, if you can find a way to not help people that didn't even ask, like, do it. Just do that. That's all you have to do. That sums it up, Beans. They don't know how to get out of their own way. Now I'm moving on to Libras, because I'm going to get them out of my way. Yes, that's a start. Yeah. No, you should hurt others. you're helping. You do too much helping. They gotta learn how much you're helpful. Ugh. So Libra is dealing with the essence of quiet repairs. They have Virgo in their 12th house, so they're getting a lot of system updates to feel love in their subconscious realm. And essentially what they're dealing with is they tend the private script, sleep on replies. Not your energy should not be available for everybody at all times. You feel me? Yeah, so I don't know. It's just like the quiet season that Leo was having during Virgo season is now, it's the turn for, you know, it's their turn now. It's Libra's turn now. So Libras is just like, I don't know, you're not going to be doing much. You're not going to be experiencing much. You're just kind of going to be farting around, bullshitting. I don't know, eating a pack of Pringles. Doing some experiments on like Doritos to like see how long it burns to calculate the amount of caloric units within it. Just like hanging out, bullshit, not really doing too much. Oh my god, I got my hair out of my face. Yeah, bullshit like that, nothing crazy. So when it comes to that, it's yeah, I don't know, just spending time with yourself, understanding that like if you don't have the energy to help people, then you shouldn't be around. You shouldn't be trying to help people, you know? Like, just, it's really just, don't do too much, and then you'll randomly have little spouts of inspiration and thoughts in your brain of where you're just like, that's what I think. That's what I do. That's what I got going on. Okay. That's it. That's all you got going on, you know? Nothing too crazy. Yep. Quiet repairs. Just sitting away, churning. Some people may be debugging physically, metaphorically, and computationally. Some people may be drinking magnesium sulfate. They may be on the toilet. That's about it. You know, you can't tell them to go, but you can put yourself in debt. Can't pour from an empty cup, dog. Yeah, you know, like the story of the bamboo. The roots. Bam! You know? But no one wants to take the 5 years, so. Man, I had a good sandwich this morning. Sums it up, beans. But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it for Libra. Scorpio. The future is greater than a feud. Scorpio with Virgo in the 11th house. It was like an egg, arugula, aioli, bacon, with like pickled onions on a brioche bun. It was pretty good. But yeah, so Scorpio. The future is greater than the feud. Tune the bylaws, tune the roles, tune the revenue splits. Please just don't like do anything too crazy to where you're like, you know, it's like we got a little situation here. We don't gotta do nothing too crazy. Let's just work on it. That was funny. Cheryl, you'd be cracking me up. But yeah, so Scorpio is like, don't get distracted by the nonsense. Don't get distracted by people working out their own they don't be, what's the word? I don't know. It's just like, just don't get distracted by the pettiness. Don't get distracted by the emotion behind people trying to drag you into the pettiness, right? Because what Scorpios like to do a lot of the time is like when they feel bad, they want to like the Scorpios are the real crabs in the barrel, you know? Like they're the ones that are like they really want to drag you down. If you feel some type of way, they will drag you down and be like, "I'll make you feel worse. I'll show you how I feel. I'll make me feel worse so I can show you how I feel," you know? Like bullshit like that. So Scorpio, it's like you got a lot of situations going on, you got a lot of opportunities coming up. No, I feel pretty good most of the time. I got my Gemini happiness, you know? I just like talking shit. But yeah, Mars and Gemini, you know? But yeah, so when it comes to Scorpios, sometimes they will get caught up in that and like completely dismember their, oh, I stay talking shit. But yeah, they'll completely like dismember their essence of, what's the word? I don't know. It's just like they'll just stop what they got going on just to like stunt on people, you know? And like they'll stop what they got going on to just like shit on people and just make them feel bad for like almost no reason, right? And it's a complete distraction to what they have going on. They just want to like basically like I don't know, like whip out their balls and fucking like assert their dominance over the emotional realm, right? Because they're just like, we can't have cancer. I'm the one that's fixating on the emotions here. We're feeling bad. We're all feeling bad. And I'm going to make you feel bad just cause, you know? And it's just like, Scorpio, why are you doing that? You got like you got a whole investors meeting in an hour. Why you got to like just make the taxi driver feel bad? It's just like, cause, you know? And it's like some weird Scorpio, metric that just like doesn't make any sense, you know? It's just like, why are you doing that? You don't have to do this, right? It's like Scorpios are so low-key egotistical and everybody forgets that they're just basically Scorpios are basically just Leos, and instead of redirecting you, they have secrets. They're just Leos with secrets. That's pretty much what Scorpio is, you know? So yeah, I know you've said that many times. It's a very specific comparison. K-pop fun time, wow. But yeah, so when it comes to Sagittarius, let's move on to Saggy. So Sagittarius is dealing with the essence of reputation by method. So they're dealing with what are they dealing with? They're dealing with the next step after sustaining their dreams instead of like what I was saying when I was like adapting the I was gonna clean my room song to Sagittarius, of where it's like I was always an optimist, but then I got, you know, and just like you didn't do anything with your optimism and you were just feeling for the sake of feeling, which is cool because you have that hidden gift of being able to be happy despite every situation. You know? So it's like Sagittarius, it's like you be bullshitting and then you're finally aware of your bullshit, so you're just like, okay, if I don't want to sustain what's making me excited right now, I can give that excitement to someone else. You know? So when it comes to yeah. Hey, I've been wondering the same thing. I've been doing this for 3 years, at least more popularly, and it's just like I don't know. I really don't know. And then they don't buy anything, so it's really just the worst thing ever. And then it's like, with modern people these days, it's like, I gave you a compliment. Now, fulfill all of my expectations. And it's like, really like the most backhanded compliment you could possibly get. And it's really just fucking annoying. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it at all. But yeah. You know, you gotta be like you are. Nobody knows but Jesus the troubles I see. My eyes are up here. Nobody knows but Jesus troubles. The troubles I see. But yeah, so essentially what Sagittarius has moved on to is the essence of, they've moved on to like offloading their optimism to other people that can like build the dream. And now they're on the stage of, whatchamacallit, nobody know that, like, sorry, I'm distracted now. Now they're on the stage of like creating SOPs, right? So now it's like SOPs are your love language. So Sagittarius is in this weird space of where they're like, okay, if I don't want to do it and I just want to be someone that just gets excited for no goddamn reason, I will be like, yeah, this is so cool. I'll make a plan, and then I'm gonna go out there and basically like plant the seed in somebody and be like, oh, by the way, I have all my notes and my operating procedures of how to make this happen. If you go to subsection A-B2, you can see that you start right here and sign your initial right here. I own it, but you'll build it. Or hopefully they structure a deal like that. But yes, that's pretty much where Sagittarius is at. Now, moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn is dealing with the energy of thesis over tirade. So they're kind of in a weird space of where it's like, Capricorn, as much as they know how to build, they like to build on their own because no one can do the work as good as them, right? So essentially, like, they're moving on a little bit, kind of like Sagittarius, of where it's like they're picking, like, they're creating the standard operating procedures, and instead of like, you know, hiring somebody cheap or hiring an expert, they're learning how to hire somebody that's emotionally attached because they can be trained and they will inevitably work harder than anybody that is more expensive or entitled ever could. That's how we're dealing with that, right? So essentially they're learning how to teach the principle and cite sources, right? So it's just like, this is what I want. This is how I want it done, and hey, you're more obsessed than I ever could be. You're hired, you know? So it's like the power of obsession, right? And then it's like they can deal with the downside of that later, which is essentially them having like them feeling like they have a sense of ownership when they don't, you know? And it's like they should have signed the paperwork in the beginning. But, you know, you thought it was too cool. Gotcha. So yeah. That's really, I don't know, that's really it. Aquarius. Aquarius is dealing with the essence of figuring out what like binds them to what they have going on. So it's just like Capricorn has it in the 9th. Aquarius has it in the Aquarius has it in the 8th, I believe. So essentially it's figuring out like what systems bind them, what, I guess, I don't know, they got Virgo in the 8th house, they're a little freaky. What do they have going on? I don't know, it's like a weird thing to explain, because it's just like, what do they have going on within themselves that attaches them to life? You know, because it's Aquarius, right? They're detached. They don't feel these things. They just kind of like fart around and like do their thing and just like be like, oh, I'm cool. I have innovative ideas. Everybody, I'm popular. You know, but the essence of it is like they aren't exactly as powerful as others may like, right? So when it comes to that, they're kind of going through this little crisis right now. If they're just like, why am I here? Why am I this way? What do I have to offer, right? And they're kind of going through this like personal crisis in some way, shape, or form. And the thing about that is just like, it's cool, but at the same time, it's like, yo, Aquarius, like, why are you here? What do you want to work on, right? So Venus is in Virgo is going to kind of put them through this like weird, like trial by fire rituals that they're going to remember. Ironically, they're going to have to go through this like, you know, joyful trial by fire ritual and like remember why they're here and what they're doing, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much that. But yeah, and then it's understanding like why calm specificity with intimacy and money is going to give them a lot more clarity for a reason of being, you know, because they kind of need it. Now, Pisces. So Pisces is dealing with the essence of contracts or care. So they're defining terms, timelines, and repairing protocols specifically in relationships, right? Pisces is a bit of a, you know, lazy son of a bitch. Where they don't exactly understand that, like, you can't just dissociate anytime things get hard, right? And with their energy and essence being the North Node or the spiritual direction, they, one second, I gotta sneeze. And you guys stare at the sun to help you sneeze? For Sagittarius, if you want to scroll back to 57 minutes and 30 seconds, that's when I did the Sagittarius reading. But yeah, so Pisces is like kind of getting a little punch in the face because they are... It's a secret. It's a secret. It works. I figured it out when I was 7, and I was like, I'm sticking with this. It helps. But yeah, so that was crazy. It's probably just because of Utah. No other reason, just Utah. But yeah, so Pisces is in this weird space where they're getting like punched in the face and being like, you guys have responsibility to lead people forward spiritually because of the North Node. Or as people say, Rahu. Same thing. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the vibe, you know? Like, it's just like they're getting a little slap in the face. They gotta stand up. They gotta have the right people around them. They gotta do this. They gotta do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, really. They just gotta man up. They gotta be an adult. They have to be mildly responsible and not dissociate if they have such a responsibility. Pretty much it. But yeah, I mean, that's it, guys. If you have any specific questions, I'll hang out for a little bit. Other than that, I'm going to play around with my little Amazon package. I have journaling prompts. Meditation prompts? I don't know. The journaling prompts I would suggest is, which small act done daily could change everything by next month, right? And this comes back to what's his name? Brian Tracy, that's it. Brian Tracy. He's kind of like them like old guys on YouTube Shorts that be telling you shit about energy and meditation, right? So one of the things that he suggests is like, how much better would you be if you just got 1% better every day? Very attainable, right? Like, what is the compounding interest of that, right? 1% better every day is like thousands of percent better a year. So it's like, if you made $100 a day, what happened if you made $101 the next day? What happened if you made $101, $2.10 the next day? You know, and it's just like, what is that compounding effect, right? And how quickly does that influence your life? That's kind of like what that journaling prompt is asking. Now, the next one is, where does my care cross into control, and what boundary restores grace? That's a good one. You know, that's a very important one right there, right? So where do you obsess? Where do you feel that, like, you know, your obsession is leading you to distract you from whatever you think you're doing, right? Like, do you care? Do you want to control? You know, it's like, it comes back to the old statement of, if you love something, let it free. What is that thing that you love? How should you set it free? Get around to it. And then the final journaling prompt is, what exactly am I willing to maintain? You know, what do you want out of life? What do you want to do? What do you want to make happen? And so on and so forth. Those 3 journaling prompts work for you? Seems good enough. But yeah, that's about it for me, guys. If you want to go into more detail or hang out on the upcoming Libra season call, click the link in the description or the link in the pinned comment right here and claim your free trial to the Alchemist Laboratory. Bye-bye.